Veronica's voice sliced through the buzz of conversation at her law firm's grand opening like a scalpel. The words hung in the air, sharp enough to cut glass. I froze where I stood, dressed in my best suit, the one I wore only for important events, clutching a flute of champagne I'd paid for myself. Around me, the chatter died into a silence that felt colder than the marble floor beneath my shoes. My name is Lucas, I'm 39 years old, and I've been married to Veronica for 8 years. By trade, I'm a financial consultant, a stable, reliable profession that keeps the lights on and pays the bills, but doesn't win you applause or invitations to fancy soirees like this one. The truth is, I was the reason this very party existed. Yet in that moment, I was nothing more than a prop in Veronica's carefully staged performance. She raised her glass toward me, manicured nails catching the light, and every head in the room pivoted in my direction. I saw polished young attorneys in designer suits, seasoned partners with their well-practiced smiles, and classmates from law school who had landed positions at prestigious firms. Dozens of eyes studied me like I was some curious exhibit at a museum. Lucas has been such a good sport in supporting my career. Veronica continued with that false sweetness she used when she wanted to appear gracious while driving in the knife. He co-signed the loans, secured the credit lines, and made sure I could dedicate myself to what mattered most. But now that I'm firmly established, with deliberate flair she reached into her purse and withdrew an envelope. She held it aloft as though it were the punchline to some grand joke. I think it's time for an upgrade. These, she said, waving it slightly, are divorce papers. The room froze. For 3 endless seconds, not a sound was heard. Then, laughter erupted. First one person chuckled, then another. Soon half the room was laughing openly, some clapping their approval like this humiliation was the cleverest stunt they had seen in months. I stared at the envelope in her and divorce papers presented at her law firm's opening party. Planned, rehearsed, orchestrated to the last detail. My life reduced to spectacle. Don't look so stunned, Lucas, she smirked, slipping the envelope into my hands. You must have known this was coming. Just take a good look around. She gestured toward the sleek offices, the high-end furniture, the expensive suits mingling across the floor. This is my world now. You are only ever transitional. From behind me came a whisper, savage, but smart. No reason to drag things out. Another voice chimed in. She's got guts. I respect it. I felt every pair of eyes burning into me. 8 years of marriage turned into entertainment for a room full of strangers. Without a word, I folded the envelope and tucked it into my jacket pocket. Then I turned and headed for the door. Lucas, don't be so dramatic, Veronica called after me, her voice dripping with mock sympathy. We can go over the details later. Stay and have another drink. I didn't look back. My footsteps carried me outside, but in my chest, something dark and calculating had already begun to take shape. Veronica had no idea what she had unleashed. The drive home was long and quiet, giving me room to think about how it had all begun. 8 years earlier, Veronica hadn't been the confident, polished attorney commanding a room. She'd been a paralegal, drowning in debt with nothing but ambition and desperation to her name. Law school had been her ticket to the future, but she couldn't afford the fare. Her credit was a mess, her loans maxed out, her options slim. That's where I entered the picture. My consulting business was thriving, and my credit score gleamed at 842 when she was accepted to law school. The banks wanted a co-signer with reliable income and impeccable credit history. Just until I graduate, she'd promised me, sitting at my kitchen table, surrounded by loan documents like they were blueprints for a war campaign. Once I'm established, I'll refinance everything under my name. You'll be free and clear. I believed her. More than that, I wanted her to succeed. So, I signed. First, $68,000 for tuition, then $15,000 for bar prep courses, another $37,000 for her master's specialization. The requests kept coming even after the diplomas were framed. A $25,000 line for a professional wardrobe. I need to look the part, she had argued. Then $40,000 for technology servers, case software, research tools, office leases, liability insurance, membership dues, conference fees, and each time my name was there on the dotted line, guaranteeing it all. I'd kept meticulous records. Spreadsheets tracked every cent, every promise, every guarantee. By the time Veronica reached her so-called success, the total came to $223,000. All tied to me, my credit, my reputation, my willingness to believe in her. And yet, the more she climbed, the more she withdrew. She introduced me less as her husband and more as Lucas. Eventually, just this as Lucas, with no explanation of who I was or why I mattered. Tonight wasn't sudden, it was simply the final move in a play she'd been directing for years. The late nights with colleagues I never met, the conferences that supposedly barred spouses, the conversations that died whenever I entered the room, but I had kept signing, kept supporting, kept believing. Until now I pulled into our driveway and sat in the truck for an hour, not in grief but in calculation. Veronica thought tonight was her victory, but she had overlooked one critical truth. Her empire wasn't built on her brilliance alone, it was built on the foundation of my credit, my money, my support. And when the foundation crumbles, the entire structure collapses. I pulled out my phone. First I called my business attorney, James Wright, the man who had handled all my contracts and knew exactly what I had signed for Veronica. Lucas, it's almost 11 p.m. What's wrong? I need you to go through every document I co-signed for Veronica Vrlone, every guarantee, every personal backing. I want to know what I can pull out of immediately. A pause. What happened? She handed me divorce papers at her law firm's grand opening, in front of everyone. Silence. Then James swore under his breath. I'll be in the office by 7 a.m. Bring everything you've got. Next I called my accountant, then my banker. By midnight, I had a crystal clear picture of just how much leverage I held. Veronica's entire career was tied to my signature, and she had never even read the fine print. Most of those agreements had clauses that allowed me to withdraw my guarantee within 30 days. Some could be cancelled immediately due to significant changes in circumstance. Divorce, absolutely qualified. By sunrise. 17 certified letters sat neatly on my kitchen table. Withdrawal notices, guarantee terminations, credit line cancellations. Each one was written with precision, each one legally sound, each one designed to dismantle Veronica's practice piece by piece. She thought humiliation was permanent. She was wrong. Humiliation fades. Financial collapse is forever. On Monday morning, the letters went out. By Tuesday afternoon, my phone rang. Lucas, we need to talk. Veronica's voice was sharp, controlled, stripped of her cocktail party bravado. I got some notices in the mail, she said, struggling to maintain her composure. Did you? I asked lightly. That's unfortunate. Don't play games with me. These withdrawals could destroy my practice. We need to sit down and negotiate. I leaned back in my chair, gazing out over the Charlotte skyline from my 39th floor office. For 5 years, my consulting firm had operated from this space, steady, reliable, respected. Veronica thought she had written the ending to our story with a flourish of divorce papers. What she didn't know was that I had just begun writing mine. Reviewed Veronica's loan applications and signed my name to her dreams. I thought we were done discussing things. I said, wasn't that the point of Saturday night? That was poorly handled, I admit that. But you can't destroy my business because your feelings got hurt. Your feelings got hurt like I was Occult throwing a tantrum instead of Armin who'd underwritten her int. I'm not destroying anything, Veronica. I'm just withdrawing my financial support from someone who publicly stated she no longer wants my involvement in her life. This is business. No, this was always business. You just convinced it was something else. She was quiet for a moment. When she spoke again, her lawyer voice was in full effect, measured, precise, threatening. If you proceed with these withdrawals, you'll be in breach of our marital agreement to support each other's careers. I can take her to court for intentional interference with my business relationships. I almost laughed. Veronica, you served them divorce papers at a cocktail party. You think our marital agreement is already null and void. The financial comments are separate from the marriage. You can't just actually. I can. James Wright reviewed every document we signed. Turns out most of them have clauses allowing withdrawal in case of changed circumstances. Divorce is definitely a changed circumstance. James Wright, you and Tummy colleague's husband. That stopped What did you say? James Wright. His wife Patricia is in my practice agreement. They've been married 12 years. The pieces clicked into place. Patricia Wright, the blonde woman who'd been standing next to Veronica when she served me the divorce papers. The one word laughed the loudest when Veronica called me her starter husband. You knew, I said slowly. You knew I'd probably call James for legal advice. You knew his wife would tell him exactly what happened at your party. I knew you'd need legal counsel for James is competent. But that wasn't what this was about. This was about control. Veronica had a chest-rated Saturday night, knowing that my own attorney was married to someone in her professional circle. She'd figured I'd be too embarrassed to pursue aggressive action against her if it meant exposing my humiliation to the legal community. She'd miscalculated. Veronica, let me ask you something. In all your legal training, did you ever study the concept of mutually assured? What? It's when both parties have the power to destroy each other, so neither one acts. It only works when both parties care equally about the outcome. I don't understand what you're getting at. You think I wouldn't follow through with these withdrawals because it might embarrass him in front of your colleagues? You think I care what Patricia Wright tells James about our marriage? I looked out at the skyline again, at the city where I'd built my business and my reputation without needing anyone's approval or support. But here's the thing, Veronica. You need me credit to survive. I don't need your colleagues' approval to succeed. You've got a lot more to lose than I do. Lucas, be reasonable. We can work this out. I am being reasonable. I'm treating this like the business transaction you've aimed it into. The line went quiet. When she spoke again, her voice was smaller, less certain. What do you want? I want you to understand what you threw away on Saturday night. I want you to realize that your starter husband was holding up your entire professional life. And then what? Then you can figure out how to practice law without me. By Thursday morning, the first response started arriving. The business loan company acknowledged my withdrawal off guarantee and informed Veronica that she need to provide or pay down the balance to an amount she could personally secure $67,000 due within 30 days. The equipment financing company was next. Without McGronick, Veronica would need to either pay off the remaining $42,000 immediately or return the computers, servers and or software that formed the technological backbone of her practice. But the real blow came Friday afternoon. Her professional liability insurance was cancelled effective immediately. No insurance meant no practice. It was that simple. I was reviewing quarterly reports when my assistant buzzed my office. Mr. Foster, there's a Veronica Foster here to see you. She says it's urgent. Send her in. Veronica walked into my office looking like she hadn't slept in days. Her usually perfect hair was pulled back in a hasty ponytail, and she was wearing jeans instead of one of her designs. She'd been crying. Lucas, please, we need to talk. I gestured to the chair across from my desk, the same chair where she used to sit when she needed me to sign papers for her latest career advancement. I'm listening. My insurance is gone. The bank wants $67,000 by next Friday or they're calling the loan. The equipment company is threatening to repossess. That's unfortunate. Don't do this. Don't be cruel. I leaned back in my chair and really looked at her. 8 years of marriage and I was seeing her clearly for the first time. Veronica, do you remember what you said to me when you first asked me to co-sign your law school? That was 8 years ago. You said, I just need someone to believe in Muntal. I can believe in myself. You said you needed a partner who understood that investing in your future was investing in our future together. She nodded, tears starting to form. So, I believe it in you. I co-signed for $120,000 in education loans. I guaranteed another $40,000 in business credit. I backed your equipment financing, your insurance, your office lease. $223,000 of my credit supporting your dreams. Ikno, I'm grateful. Are you? Because on Saturday night, you told a room full of lawyers that I was transitional, that I was your starter husband who'd served his purpose and could now be discarded. I didn't mean it like that. You did. You meant exactly like that. You thought you could take everything I'd given you and walk away clean. You thought your legal degree made you independent of the man who financed it. I pulled out a folder from my copies of every loan document, every guarantee, every piece of paper that connected my financial life to hers. But here's what you missed in all your legal training. Veronica, when you build something on borrowed foundation, you better make sure their foundation wants to stay in place. Shested at the folder. What do you want to do? I want you to go back to your colleagues and explain how your starter husband was actually your primary financial partner. I want you to tell them that your successful practice was built on credit you couldn't qualify for in your own. I can't do that. It would destroy my reputation. Your reputation is already destroyed. Your practice is failing. Your insurance is cancelled and your colleagues are about to find out that you can't manage your own finances. The only question now is whether you learn something from. She sat there silently for a long moment. How did I get this so wrong? She whispered. You started believing your own story. I said you forgot that success built on someone else's foundation isn't realized. Saturday morning, I got the call I'd been expecting. Lucas, this is Patricia, right? I think we need to discuss the situation with Veronica. Patricia, the woman who'd laughed when Veronica served me divorce papers, the wife of my attorney, calling to clean up the mess her colleague had created. What situation is that, Patricia? Don't be a... Veronica's practice is in crisis. Suppose you withdrew your financial backing. This affects more than just... That was interesting. How does it affect you? We had cases we were going to refer to her. Clients who need her If her practice fails, it impacts our entire network. Now Veronica hadn't just built their practice on my credit. She'd built it on promised referrals from other attorneys who expected her to be a reliable partner. My withdrawal wasn't just destroying her business. It was embarrassing the people who'd vouch it for her. Patricia, I'm curious about, when Veronica served my divorce papers at her opening, did she mention that her practice was entirely dependent on my financial backing? Silence. Because I'm thinking she probably portrayed herself as an independent success story. Self-made lawyer building her own firm through talent and hard work. Her qualifications speak for themselves, do they? Because from where I sit, her 8 years of using my credito fund her career while planning to discard me once she didn't need my signature anymore. I'm being practical. Veronica made it clear that she considers our partnership over. I'm simply agreeing with her assessment. What will it take to resolve this? And there it was. The real reason for Veronica's colleagues were pressuring her to fix the situation. Best her failure was reflecting poorly on their judgment. It's simple, Patricia. Veronica needs to acknowledge publicly that her practice was built on financial support. She's no longer entitled to. She needs to explain to her colleagues that her starter husband was actually her business partner. She'll never agree to that. Then her practice will fail and everyone will refer clients to her. Will look like they failed to properly vet her financial stability. I could hear Patricia breathing on the other end of the line. You realize this will hurt innocent clients too, she said. Veronica should have thought about that before she decided to humiliate the person funding her operation. So there's nothing we can discuss. No compromise. I looked out my office window at the city below. Somewhere out there, Veronica was probably in her office staring at stack of bills she couldn't pay and legal databases she COULDN single quotes tax CESS. There is one option, I said. What? Veronica can buy out my guarantees. All $223,000. Pay off every loan, every credit line, every obligation that has my name on it. Once she's truly independent, she can practice however she wants. She doesn't save that kind of money. Then she's not truly independent, is she? Patricia was quiet for a long moment. This is about more than money, isn't it? Yes, it's about respect. It's about understanding that partnership means partnership, not exploitation. It's about the difference between earning something and being given something. And if she can't pay, then she'll have to rebuild her career the same way she built it the first time, by finding someone willing to believe in her potential and support her dreams. I paused, letting that sink in. Of course, this time, everyone will know exactly what kind of partner she turned out to be. The line went dead. By Monday morning, I expected Veronica would finally understand the full scope of what she'd thrown away. Monday morning brought 97 missed calls. I was having coffee when my phone started buzzing at 6 a.m. Veronica. I let it go to voicemail. Then it rang again and again. By the time I finished my shower, there were 15 missed calls and a string of increasingly frantic text messages. Lucas, please call me. Everything is falling apart. Minimal practice insurance is cancelled. Legal search access cut off. Clients are recalling, please. I drove to my office through Charlotte's morning traffic, my phone buzzing constantly in the passenger seat. By the time I parked, the missed call count had reached 43. At 9 a.m., she showed up at my office. Lucas, you have to help me. Veronica burst through my door, looking her professional compassorier's gone, replaced by raw panic. My search databases are locked out. I can't access case law. I have a brief due tomorrow and no way to prepare it. He looked up from my computer. That sounds like a problem. This isn't funny. I have clients depending on me. You should have a thought about that before you decided it and need me anymore. I made a mistake, okay? I handled Saturday night wrong, but you can't destroy my entire career because I hurt your feelings. I stood up and walked to my window, looking out at the city where I'd built my reputation without anyone's help. Veronica, do you know what the definition of a starter husband is? Don't. It's someone who supports you until you're ready for something better. Someone whose value is entirely in what they provide, not who they are. I turned at her face. You were right. I was your starter husband. I was the foundation you built on until you were ready to move up. But here's what you missed. What? When you remove the foundation, everything built on top of it collapses. Her phone buzzed. She looked at it and her face went white. That's probably Theber Association, I said. They're very concerned about lawyers who can't maintain their professional obligations. You called the Bar Association. I didn't have to. When your malpractice insurance was cancelled, they were notified. Practicing law without insurance is a serious violation. She stared at me, finally understanding. Your starter husband wasn't just paying for your lifestyle, Veronica. He was the entire foundation of your professional listing. 3 months later, I read in the legal newsletter that Veronica Foster had closed her practice and taken a job as an associate at a small firm in August. Her starting salary was $48,000, less than half what she'd been making monthly payments on. Patricia Wright called me once more, asking if I'd consider reversing my decision for the good of the legal community. I told her the legal community should focus on vetting the financial stability of lawyers before referring clients to them. The divorce was finalized without. Veronica couldn't afford to fight it. I kept the house, the one where I'd signed all those papers supporting her dreams. I turned her home office into a library. Sometimes I sit there in the evenings reading books on business strategy and thinking about the between partnership and exploitation. My consulting firm landed 3 new clients in the months after Veronica's practice failed. Apparently, being known as someone who doesn't tolerate being taken advantage of is good for business. People respect clear boundaries. James Wright stopped representing me, citing his wife's professional relationship with Veronica. I found a better attorney anyway. Last week I got a letter from Veronica. She wanted to apologize. She said to explain that she'd gotten caught up in trying to impress her colleagues and lost sight of what really mattered. She hoped we could be friends someday. I threw the letter away without finishing it. Some bridges once burned aren't worth rebuilding. Some foundations once removed reveal exactly what they were supporting. I drive past their old office building sometimes. There's a yoga studio there now. Better use of the space. Sometimes the most important lesson you can teach someone is what they had before they threw it away. This was today's tale of revenge. Only on Revenge with Arion, the world's #1 male revenge stories channel. If you enjoyed this story, make sure to smash that like button, drop your thoughts in the comments, and of course subscribe, so you never miss another powerful story of payback. Every day, we bring you intense, gripping stories of justice, karma, and revenge that will leave you speechless. Help us reach 1,000 subscribers. Your support fuels our mission. Until next time, stay sharp, stay unbroken, and remember, true revenge is unforgettable.